there, quilty friends, it's Carolina Moore, your favorite sewing and quilting YouTuber, and you may already have noticed that I am wearing a different shirt today. That's right, today I'm wearing my Go shirt because we are playing with the AccuQuilt Go and my new dies, the boxed bag dies. So you ready? Let's get started. Today's project is going to be the Go Santa sack. Now, I know that I'm sharing this project nowhere near Santa time, but that's totally fine. You will want to whip up a bunch of these to have ready for those busy holidays for packing up gifts, and you don't have to make them in holiday fabric. I am using, coincidentally, actually the exact same fabric on the cover of the pattern, but you can use whatever fabric you want. This makes great wrapping for birthday gifts, Mother's Day gifts, Father's Day gifts, graduation gifts, unless you're giving a car. This won't fit an entire graduation cart in it. That's not going to work. But you can make this for all kinds of big gift giving that you're doing throughout the year. It doesn't just have to be the holidays. So we're going to start unpacking our supplies here that we need in order to put this together. This pattern, by the way, is a free pattern on the AccuQuilt site. We're going to be following along with this pattern, and if you go down into the description of this video, I will have a link for you to be able to get this free pattern. Okay, so we have our pattern. We have our fabric. This fabric is actually 2 rectangles, and the instructions are right in here to tell us what size we are cutting this. 36 inches tall by 28 inches wide. And we are, that would mean 2 yards of fabric, but 36 tall by 28 inches wide. And we have 36 inches of 1 inch or wider ribbon. We also are going to need our dies. So the AccuQuilt 2 die set for the box bag dies. This is the curved die. We're not going to be using that. We are going to be using this die, which is the boxed corner die, and we're specifically using this side, which is the boxed corner, rather than our wedge right here. Now this die, because of the width, will actually fit in every single AccuQuilt machine. It'll fit in the Go Me, the regular Go, and then also the Go Electric. This is the Go Big that I'm using, so it'll absolutely fit in here. Let's go ahead and pop this on the table. Nope, hold on. There we go. So this is our Go Big, and of course it will fit in here beautifully. We are going to do a 4-inch box corner on here. So because the Go Big is so big, we can run it through this way. But just in case you don't have a Go Big, I'm going to run it through this way so you can see how you would run it through on a standard machine. The Go Big is electric, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that on. Green light means I'm good to go. So we have our fabric, and the first thing we want to do is make sure that we have our fabric in the same direction if we have a directional fabric. So you can see I have these little houses and gingerbread men, and the houses and gingerbread men are all facing the same direction. That's good. We don't want upside down houses and gingerbread men on our bag. Now, if we did, would it be the end of the world? No. I mean, it's a gift bag. Inside as a present, people are going to be excited. That's fun, right? Okay, so now I'm going to take the 4 bottom corners, because you can cut multiple layers at once with the AccuQuilt Go machines and the dies. We can cut actually all 4 corners of this all at once. So I'm just going to line up all 4 corners. Come here. There we go. Oh. There we go. And we're going to put this on the 4 and the 4. So I'll show you the underneath of the die in just a second. Here we go, look. So I'm lining this up with the number 4 here and the number 4 here. Most of our fabric is off the edge of the die. This isn't what we normally see with an AccuQuilt die. Normally with an AccuQuilt die, we have all of our fabric on the die, but for this boxed bag die, we have most of our fabric not on the die. So I'm going to take this extra fabric here, and I'm holding this firm so nothing shifts, and we're going to tuck it next to the die. And with your Go Me, you would actually roll this up and tuck it next to it, but that should be good enough for this Go Big. And now We'll just run it through. So you can see it cut off a 4-inch square off the corner, all 4 corners, and that's our box corner. It's that easy. We've already boxed the corners of our bag. Perfect, easy. I can now tuck this out of the way while we make the rest of the bag. So easy to go ahead and cut the corners. Now, this bag is made with French seams, and if you've never done French seams before, not a problem. French seams, super easy. You're basically doing the same seam twice, but the first time you do the seam is going to feel weird because you start with wrong sides together instead of right sides together. So let's do the French seams on our box corners first. Now, why are we doing French seams? Well, we're doing French seams because we want this bag to be washable, so it can be used over and over again. And since the bag isn't lined, we don't want any raw edges. So we will start with one of our box corners. And normally we would do right sides together. Here we're going to do wrong sides together. Then we're going to take this over to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch this first with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And whenever we do box corners, when we get to our fold, we're going to stitch backwards and then forwards again, needle up, and cut the threads. So there we have our seam for our box corner, but now we need to do it a second time wrong sides together, and this time we do a little bit bigger than a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now you can take this to your iron and press it if you want, or we can just finger press it right here. And this time I'm starting with the fold end in first, just because that's what was closest to the machine, but you can do it either way, totally fine. You just want to make sure that you go a little bigger than your 1/4 inch because you want all of these raw edges on the inside to be tucked away and not to be sticking out of your French seam. So we're going to forward, back, because on that fold you always want to go forward and back to lock those stitches, and then a little bit bigger than a 1/4 inch seam all the way down. And I'm going to go ahead and lock this end just to be safe. Now I can cut that thread and double check that we don't have any fabric fray. It looks like I have one little thread. I can cut that. There we go. So I'll carefully cut that thread. But now you have a seam that just looks normal on the outside, but on the inside there are no raw edges at all. So I'm going to repeat that process on the other box corner here, and then on both box corners on my second piece of fabric, and French seamed box corners on all 4 corners. So let's do that one more time together. First we're going to do wrong sides together. Feels weird doing wrong sides together. It's supposed to be right sides together. Everything's always right sides together except French seams. There we go. Line this up. Starting with our 1/4 inch seam allowance. And you always want to go back and forth on the fold, but if you do it on both ends just to make it a habit, that's not a terrible habit. Backwards, forwards, lift it up. Okay, so now we're going to flip this out. There we go. Finger press that nice and clean. Make sure that you go back and forth on the fold end, if not both ends. Nope, I think I did this one a little too close to that 1/4 inch. Let's take a look, see how I did. So this one is a little close to that 1/4 inch, so I have stuff sticking out. We don't want that, so I'll go ahead and just redo that seam. In this case, I can actually just stitch it a second time because I just went a little wonky, so I'll just stitch it a second time. I don't even have to unpick that, I can leave that right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and do my box cornered French seams on the other bag as well. Okay, now I have all 4 box corners done with French seams, and now we need to do a French seam through the whole bag, putting it together. Again, we are going to want to put right sides together, but we're doing it the other way. We're doing wrong sides together so we can make that French seam. So I'm going to do right sides out, wrong sides together. There we go. And what we want to do is match up our corner seams. So the way that we do that is we take one seam, put it in one direction, one seam, put it in the other direction, so we don't get a ton of bulk. We're spreading the bulk in opposite directions. And then we're going to take a pin and pin that in place. Same with the other one. Doesn't matter which one's going in which direction, we just want them both going in opposite directions. So whichever way that they feel like they want to start going, as long as they're in opposite directions, we're fine. And then we're going to put a pin right here. This is a lot of fabric, so I'm going to add a couple extra pins along, this is the bottom of the bag. Just to make sure that that fabric doesn't shift while we're sewing. And then the side is also pretty long, so it doesn't hurt to put a couple pins in this long side so that nothing shifts. It's always possible as you feed the fabric into the machine that the top or bottom fabric shifts a little bit based on how you have your tension of your presser foot set. So some pins to make sure that everything's on the right track is never a bad idea. And again, this feels funny because I'm used to looking at the wrong side of my fabric, but I'm looking at the pretty side of my fabric for this seam. All right, I just did like 3 pins on the long side there, and now I'm going to add 3 pins or so on the other long side. Now the top of the bag, so that's the side that's opposite our box corners, and in this case where all the gingerbread heads and roofs are, that is going to be open because we need to be able to put things in our bag if we're going to use it as a gift bag. So the top of the bag is going to stay open. It's just the sides and the bottom that we're going to sew. Okay. There we go. Okay. So we are going to start on one corner here, work our way all the way down, work our way across and up the other side. And if you are worried about anything because this is 3D, it's not going to feel like 3D sewing. It really won't. We're going to do just like we did before, our little 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I am going to go ahead and lock my stitches right here at the top of the bag just to hold everything in place. And make sure that nothing shifts. Now I'm realizing that I forgot a step because of course I did. I'm trying to go too fast here, and that is attaching the ribbon. Now you want to figure out whereabouts you want to attach the ribbon on your bag, and I'm actually going to attach it to the other side and already pin it in place. That way it'll be fully secured in the bag. If you forgot it at this step, you could attach it later. And if you know what size item you're going to be putting in your bag, you can kind of determine how low you want this. I'm going to say for this bag, I like it maybe right about here. I want to have enough at the top that it looks pretty and full. Oh, maybe I'll go a little lower. Maybe like right here. So we've got a nice pretty full. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's call it 10 inches is where I'm pinning this. And give it a pin so that stays put. Okay. Now we can go back to sewing our 1/4 inch seam. Now we're going to sew all the way down one side, and then we're going to get to that corner where we have that French seam. So give it just a second, we're almost there. Okay, this is where I have that pin for that corner. You can see there's my seam and there's my seam. And look, it doesn't even feel like 3D sewing. It's just a flat seam. Everything just stays flat. Isn't that fun? It's not like when you're adding binding and you've got like a corner you need to turn. With these box corners, they turn so easily. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and sew all the way around. When I get to that ribbon, I'm going to stitch back and forth a couple times just to secure it, because I want to make sure that I'm keeping it in place. But look, we're here at that other box corner, and it is perfectly smooth and flat. It's like magic. It doesn't even feel like we're doing 3D sewing. Alright, so I'm already moving my way up the other side. In a second I'm going to get to that ribbon, and we're going to secure that in place. And then also at the top we're going to backstitch just to secure that top seam. Alright, here we go. Back and forth, just to make sure that it stays in there. Okay, I didn't go back and forth on that last seam. That's okay, no big deal. It'll still be fine. Okay, so we have our bag. I mean, it's currently right side out, which with the seams on the outside, so it's not done, but it is put together, so you can start to see kind of the shape a little bit of this bag. We're going to turn the whole thing right side out, and we're going to reset up our space so that we have our ironing board, because this is a really long big seam, and it's going to just go better for us if we go ahead and press this with an actual iron. Also, we are going to need to press the top of our bag to make the hem, to fully finish this bag. Now, if you've heard that quilters don't hem, don't worry about it. This is not that kind of hem. It'll be fine, I promise. But we're going to finish our French seam and hem, but we need to iron first. So I'm going to tuck away my AccuQuilt mat because I don't want it to get warped by the iron, and my Go Big, and put my pressing mat here for a second. Okay, I have switched out the Go Big and the cutting mat and replaced it with my wool pressing mat, and we have our project now right sides in so that we can do that final seam around the outside, and then we just need to hem it. Let's take a look at this overhead, how this looks. So we're going to take our seam and just pinch it and bring it up so that the seam is right up against the edge, and then press. This was the same thing that we did when finger pressing the French seam box corners down at the bottom. And then if we've done it right, you shouldn't really see the seam from either side because it should be right down this middle. And as much as you can when doing this, you want to not have any like extra folds or extra fabric in this edge. Now, if it's not perfect, this is the inside of the bag. No one's going to see it. It'll be fine. It's a gift bag, but we just want it to be washable so that if this is under a Christmas tree with dogs and cats and pets, that we can wash it to wash off any pet hair, so that if this is a gift that's given to a kiddo that has had birthday cake, that any birthday cake smudges, we can just wash those off and we can use this bag over and over again. The coolest thing about reusable gift bags, now I'm going to pause here for a second my story so that, oh, I've got some extra threads. Let's cut those. There is a little bit of 3D going on here. We just want to kind of tuck that 3D out of the way as we work our way around and do this French seam here. Oh, so I was saying the coolest thing about reusable fabric gift bags is that people remember the gift bags. So if you do these out of special fabrics for each person in the family, they remember the gifts that they got in these gift bags. You can applique their initial or their full name on the front of the bag. If you are a stencil painter, you can get stencils that say like Santa's sack. You can put Santa's name on this bag. With reusable fabric gift bags, you can customize them to your family's traditions and even turn the bags themselves into a new family tradition. So I love that about the bags, that they get used over and over and over again, and people love them. It's almost like stockings, but for more things. And these don't have to be as elaborate as some stockings. Like there are some stockings that are fairly simple. My family stockings are fairly simple, but I know there are some really elaborate stockings out there. If you wanted, you could do a full like applique scene on your Santa sack, and turn it into a whole, oh, that would be so much fun. There are so many really fun AccuQuilt applique dies with Santa's sleigh and reindeer and snowflakes and gnomes. So there's all kinds of things that you could applique on here if you wanted. Okay, so we are going to be sewing this all the way around, but here's a little tip. This ribbon is hanging out on the end. So what I want to do is I want to grab this and just give it a shaky, shaky, shake. Shake, 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 shake. Hopefully you can see that ribbon right there. Yep. And so I'm just going to take a pin kind of towards the middle of the bag, and which is kind of the end of the ribbon, and pin that in place. So now you'll see that ribbon is pinned right here and it can't move. I don't want that ribbon to accidentally get tucked into any of my French seams while I'm working on this. That would be a bummer. I'm gonna move my iron out of the way, and we're going to sew that second row on our French seams, or that second, I guess, seam on our French seams. This is the one that's done a little bit bigger than a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And it's the same way that we did on our box corners. I'm going to go back and forth just out of habit, and I'm going to stitch this. Ooh, it wants to shift all the way around. I'm coming up to my ribbon, so there's going to be a little more bulk here. I'm just going to take that a little more carefully as I go. And I don't need to add extra stitching back and forth if I don't want, because there's that in the other seam. But you can add a little extra stitching back and forth. And then I'm just going to do my best to try to keep this seam on track as I go all the way around. And then we're about to come up to our box corner, which is our little 3D part of this bag. Now, once you get the hang of how this bag is made, all right, there's our little box corner. We're just gonna, again, it's some extra bulk, go a little slower over it, easy. Okay, once you get the hang of how to make this bag, you can make it in just about any size. You can use bigger pieces of fabric, smaller pieces of fabric. You can cut, well, the box bag die only does 4 inch, like 4 inches as big as the box bag die goes, but you can absolutely cut smaller bags, no problem. You can cut little 1 inch box corners on little bags, so you can make this bag over and over again in all different kinds of sizes and all different kinds of fabrics, so that you have them for all kinds of gifts. Okay, I just went around that second box corner, and we're gonna head all the way up this last side, and then we still need to hem this. Now I promised you, hemming is not that scary, especially on a bag like this. If your hem is not perfect, no one's ever going to look at it that closely. It's a big floppy top hem on a bag. It's not like a pants hem where if it's uneven, or a skirt hem where if it's uneven that someone's going to know. This is not home ec where there's going to be a fashion show and people are going to be looking at the hem to see if it's straight. This is just, we need the top finished so that it, we need the top finished so that it won't unravel and fray. Now, if you really wanted, you could leave the top unfinished. I've done that before, but then I don't know why you took the time to do the French seams if you were just going to leave the top unfinished, but that's up to you. Okay, so we have our bag all put together. It's a full bag at this point. We need to take this pin that we used to hold the ribbon out and out of the way, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it right side out. There we go. Our ribbon is not caught in any seams except for where we wanted it, right there at that fold. Look at that. Ah, it looks great. Okay, so now we need to do our quick little hem. Now this is, you can use a hem guide if you want. If you're a perfectionist, you are welcome to grab a hem guide and make this exact. I'm not. We're going to start by going in about a quarter inch-ish. As long as this is mostly even all the way around, you're fine. You don't want it too big because then you're just using all your fabric in your hem and you'll have a shorter bag. You don't want it too small because then it's going to be tougher to stitch. So just a quarter inch over, give or take. And then once we've done a piece like that, we just move to a different part of the bag. And then I'm going to give it a little extra press here because this is where my seam is, my French seam. So there's a lot of layers and I want to add a little extra heat there. All right, I'm going to start turning this the other direction. It'll be a little more natural, I think, for me. There we go. This is the other seam on the other side. Again, I'm going to give it a little extra heat for a little longer. Now once you make it all the way around with your quarter inch, we're going to do a half inch. So that's about double. Again, you can totally grab a ruler or a hem gauge, hem guide to make this perfect, but this is the floppy top of your bag, so we are not worried about the floppy top of our bag being perfect. There we go. A little extra heat right there at that seam with all that bulk. And I'm pretty sure mine's a little bigger than a half an inch. It's probably 3/4 inch on this one. Again, it's fine. All right, we're almost all the way around. And then once we make it all the way around, now you can also pin this if you want. It's a long seam, so it's not a terrible idea to pin it. I'm going to not. I think it'll be okay. I'm not too worried about shift on this hem. I think I'll be able to feel it a little more with a hem than I would with a side seam, but we'll see how it goes. All right, let's move the iron out of the way and bring it over to the sewing machine. Now, a sewing machine like this has this little part. This is my little baby lock jubilant. Most machines will have something like this that you can pull away. And that makes it easier when doing a hem because we can bring the machine underneath. And then all this extra fabric can hang out underneath and it won't be in the way. Now you want to stitch that little piece on. So you're going to be stitching less than a half inch, more than a quarter inch, obviously, to be able to stitch it. So the closer to this edge, the nicer it'll look on the inside. If you want, you can actually stitch this from the inside so that you know that you grab that edge, but I think it looks a little nicer when you stitch from the outside. I don't know why, but that's just what I'm going with. And I can see enough through this fabric and the light color of this fabric to know where I'm at. And we're just going to stitch this all the way around. Now often when I do a top stitch, I like to lower my stitch length, or sorry, increase my stitch length to a longer stitch length, because that will just give a nicer finished look. With this bag, I don't think anyone's ever going to look that close at the top, so I left my regular stitch length, but that's up to you. So it should just take, maybe a minute or so, depending on how fast you're going, to go all the way around. Making sure to keep that ribbon out of the way. We don't want that ribbon to get caught, because then we're going to have to unpick and re-sew the part where that ribbon gets caught, and that's a bummer. These are definitely a project that you can make in batches. So you can cut a bunch, cut the box corners on a bunch, do the French seams on the box corners, do the French seams on the sides, and then do the hem. And that way you'll have a whole stack made all at once. This is a great weekend project to make yourself a whole stack of these bags. Definitely. And then you're all ready for the holidays, which is perfect. Okay, I made it all the way around. I'm going to go back and forth on top of where I started just to lock everything in. Cut my threads, and let's see how this looks. So on the inside, as long as I caught that edge, I'm good. This actually looks really good. I did a great job catching that edge. All right, let me turn off my iron before I move it out of the way, because we're done with the iron. Tuck that. And then we're actually going to put something in the bag so that we can see how it looks. I think that the Go Big just happens to be perfect for fitting in this bag. Let's see. All right, there we go. Let's tuck the Go Big in. There we are. And now we're going to grab our top here, bring this all together. If you've completely forgot to add a ribbon, that's fine. Just grab a ribbon and tie it on now. It's just nice when the ribbon's attached, because then you have it ready to go. You don't need to go looking for a ribbon when it's time to wrap your gift. It's all ready. It's kind of like having to go look for tape when you're wrapping a gift with paper. We'll put a pretty bow on here. And we have our perfect little gift bag all ready to go. This AccuQuilt Go is staying here, so I will be unwrapping it in a moment. I am not going to be gifting this. Sorry, friends. This one's staying mine. But this is our fun little gift bag. This is our fun big Santa sack for you to make. Again, the pattern is a free downloadable pattern on the AccuQuilt site. If you go down the description, you'll get all the information. Friends, I love your comments. I do hope you'll let me know what you think of this, and if you're going to be making any, let me know any questions that you have about the whole process. If you haven't already subscribed, I don't know what's stopping you. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're subscribed. I don't just do AccuQuilt videos. I do so many different kinds of videos, and I definitely don't want you to miss any. So hit that subscribe button and like this video so that others know that, hey, they should be watching this too. That's it for today, my friends. I'll see you right here real soon. Bye for now.